I am super excited about this episode because I am talking to Lance and Louise from Trinidad and Tobago. They are YouTubers. They're doing quite well. I enjoy their channel, and not because they are my parents. I think you're creating amazing content. So, Mommy, your name is Louise Baptiste, and I just want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
Daddy, your name is Lance Baptiste, and welcome to Caribbean Content Creators.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful opportunity.
A real big pleasure. And I want to kind of go over today all your creative journey in terms of where content creation started for you all, your work that you're doing on Facebook. Because I know a lot of the story, but I want you all to be able to tell the story for the benefit of the audience. And you see, Dad is a real director, you know, because I looking at him while I'm engaging him, and he pointing my eyes towards my mother.
He sure is a director.
Yeah, he sure is a director. How challenging it is for you to work with this guy, Mommy?
Boy, I tell you, they say where there is love in the house, there is a lot of patience. So I will say that I'm blessed with a lot of patience.
Yeah, because I think, you know, even driving with Daddy is so difficult. I could imagine him as Steven Spielberg with an iPad and a lavalier mic taping videos. I don't know that I will be able to last more than one episode with him.
Well, I almost quit the job yesterday. Yes.
You were making a video?
We were making a video, and everything was nicely arranged at the table, and my food was looking good. And the next thing you know, halfway through the talk, Lance discovered that it wasn't on.
You weren't recording?
He wasn't recording. And I am there talking away and eating.
Oh my goodness. And how long were you all into the video?
Must be good 20 minutes.
All right. So tell me a little bit. I'll talk to Dad about the gear that you all use, right? Tell me a little bit in terms of the creative journey for you all as far back, because I know you are a lady that you have always been wrapped up in photography. We did a lot of travel, and as children, particularly when we traveled to the States, you were always good at taking pictures. You had your little kind of film cameras and getting them processed. And, you know, what is your interest? I know Dad is a journalist. He always had some kind of crazy ambitions in terms of creativity. And we'll get to the very first video that we made and uploaded to YouTube. But tell me a little bit about your creative story, your interest in creation. Is that you at all, or is that you just kind of like, you know, I just going around with that?
Well, that too, That too. But I always like pictures. You know, I always love to record vacation. And as way back as we first started like 50 years ago, all you had was like the Kodak camera. It was a portable camera, and you finish use it and you get it developed, and you know, until so from then I always like to record our travels in a chronological way, and then I'll set up the albums that it can tell the story. Sometimes I get Daddy to put captions to the pictures. I have an album still outstanding. He has started the captions. Now he's busy doing captions on YouTube.
Yeah,
Shorts.
But isn't it amazing? I mean, to hear you put it into perspective like that, and you realize that, wow, that was all your Facebook.
Yes.
That was your sharing. Yeah, of course, the Prince Limited. I could think about the closet where you all have all the albums stacked up.
Yes, for children and grandchildren.
For children and grandchildren, but they ain't going and watch it because it's not on Facebook.
That's right.
Yeah, but it was your version of Facebook, a Facebook post, because I could remember looking at your European album and you're having these captions, and I guess it was Daddy's chance to kind of keep in his writing and whatnot. So let's jump to the video. I remember making different travels with you all, and Daddy always seemed to have that kind of inclination towards buying technology that you always wonder, like, yeah, I can't really see Daddy using this, you know. But he always had an inclination to buy technology. I remember a time he made it buy a GPS that only had maps for the US.
And then he bought this little camera, and you flip it open so we can keep in touch when we went to the parks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then you all had a point and click camera, And if you could kind of, whether it's you or Daddy, kind of take us back to the inspiration to one of the first videos that you all did. I edited the video for you all, but it was a video called Down the Drain Trinidad. So I don't know if you or Daddy want to talk about the inspiration behind it. Unfortunately, it is a video that is no longer available because back when I edited it, I used music that has
Copyrights.
So the video picked up a copyright infringement and is no longer available on YouTube.
Yeah.
But if you could kind of go back to that space.
Seeing it as that was Daddy's brainwave, I would much prefer that you would talk about it, Lance. You were the director.
These fellas came into Trinidad and they were supposed to be contracted to repair the drain. We had a perfectly good drain, and I don't know, the subcontractors decided that, okay, we're going to farm out the work. But it was quite an episode because these men came in, they had they had the shovels, the what do they call these things again? The jackhammers. And but they had no electricity, and they had no machine to even start anything. So every morning they will come and they will ask the neighbor for a little bit of current from their home, and then they would try to remove the existing. They wanted to, not a box drain, but they were coming to just create a drain.
A drain that was already there.
A drain that was already there, that was already perfect. And anyway, and when they started this thing, so boy, it was so hilarious that I decided, hey, let's do a little skit. And Lyndon supported me well. Asana was in it too. And we really created a skit where we got this contract. And we were farming out this contract, imitating what was going on actually. And then we had to close eventually the contract. But nevertheless, it showed the kind of, I would say, corruption that existed. Because the contract was a botch job, and then Lyndon was supposed to be, I think.
Yeah, I was the dude that got the contract to do the work and basically abandoned the project,
right,
leaving the workers and the residents in quite a state.
And then you were going to get a job. Imagine you getting a job now down in the Southland, because you came and you said, I've got another contract in the Southland. So that was our first attempt really at putting something on file.
But I'm glad we have the opportunity to talk about it now, because you realize how the social work that you were doing, it was a parody. And when we put it out there, people, for back in the day, that's probably what, as far back as 2009 to 2010?
Could have been that, yes.
You know that you think about your creativity from having a point and click camera that probably cost a little more than $100 US.
Yeah,
a Canon camera, and you're doing social work, and that's the beauty of content creation. Now, we posted that on YouTube, but you all would go on to do content creation maybe in the form of writing. My dad is a journalist. And if you could tell us a little bit about, because I could always remember you expressing the highs and lows of posting written content to Facebook. And what were some of the highs and lows that you experienced, and how you were feeling around that journey? And were you inspired to kind of continue creating content based on the feedback that you were getting?
Well, there were some things that we put out on Facebook that did pretty well. And we put out 1 or 2 videos. Again, Louise was my star, you could call it that. And I noticed that every time she came on the screen, it did well, But to tell you the truth, I thought maybe I could use the vehicle of Facebook to bring some kind of educational upliftment to Facebook. But I felt in the long run that Facebook was just like an album setup. Mm-hmm. I don't think people wanted to be educated on Facebook. And I got very disillusioned with Facebook, and I kind of trailed off from Facebook. And I am not in the habit of really tagging people and asking them, to support me in that measure. So I had that limitation where I didn't tag people. But when I don't know if it was you, Lyndon, who told me, you should try YouTube. I don't remember who prompted me to go to YouTube.
Yeah, around that time, again, you're a little bit despondent about your content creation because it just wasn't reaching as many people as you thought it should have been reaching. Now, part of the reason behind that is you were doing a lot of the posting from a personal page and not like a business page. And you would create these videos, and some of them had done quite well, even though they were on your personal page. So I had suggested to you because my situation was I was posting on Facebook, but not enjoying a lot of reach on Facebook from a personal page. So Kimberly suggested that, hey, jump over to YouTube. So based on the success that I started getting there and able to hit the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours and monetized, I encouraged you all to, hey, take your content over to YouTube. And one thing I really admire about you all is that, you would come up with these ideas. And I want to talk a little bit about your content just now and your content creation process, what it looks like. But before I get to that, the persistence and the consistency that you all had in terms of you may have been posting stuff and it's kind of like a shot in the dark that probably not reaching very far. And I'd love to talk about when the trajectory of your channel changed in terms of people started paying attention. So maybe either one of you all or both of you could kind of chip in and it could give when you're telling us where the direction or your channel started to pick up steam. I really wanted to address it from the point of view of you're sharing your stories in terms of the content creator who's listening to this so that they will get little clues as to what they could do to benefit from your experience.
I recognize that if you really want to be on YouTube, you have to use your strengths, wherever your strength lies. And I guess that between Louise and I, we really had a good marriage. And we began to talk about married life. And we began to give little tips on, how your marriage could work for you. And I believe that there's quite a great deal of interest in that area. I think marriages need support, and we still do need support. And when we see people, commenting and talking about the kind of marriage we have, we are encouraged to look for new ways. So whatever somebody out there wants to get into, content creation, you have to find your strength where it lies. You have to find out the public interest. And I always believe, and from the old journalistic days, that human interest stories are the thing that will carry, readership or viewership, if you want to call it that. So, and Louise is quite versatile, and I don't want to say talkative, but she can carry the conversation.
I really admire you, mommy. From the point of view of being able, Daddy would set up this iPad, he'll pin his little lavalier mic to you.
But I was very amused when I came here and sit and saw this big mic in front of me.
Yeah, you didn't know they just make microphones that big.
And I thought that the little Mickey Mouse fluffy stuff falls away sometimes on the table and Daddy can't find it.
Yeah, and Daddy would have you all would be recording for about 20 minutes and you all carrying the script. Do you all have like a chart or something guiding you all in the background as to what to say?
We just try to be realistic.
Because your videos are not edited. You just record from start to finish. No editing. So it's like freestyling and then because it's based on tempo and beats when you're recording a video. Yeah. You may, like, let's say somebody realize, okay, you're trying to think about the next point that you're going to make. The person who is waiting kind of gets a feeling of, hey, the viewer may get a little bit bored here. So let me just inject a piece of conversation that could, until you catch your bearings and you could continue.
That's right.
So you do a fantastic job along those lines. When I watch your video and whenever I meet you all along the lines, meet people, going out in the public and people would say, hey, you're Lance and Louise's son. And I'd be like, how you know? And they'd be like, you have your father ears, they
pretty big, eh?
Yeah, no. And I would meet young people in the 30s, 40s, all the way up to the 60s. And they'd be like, hey, we getting a lot of marriage advice and counseling. And is this all based on experience, or mommy, are you educating yourself in terms of like reading so that you're giving people solid tips? So I mean, what is guiding? Because I think a big part of being able to create is educating yourself, right?
There was a very good book that I read. I think it was a book that you might have lent to me, or Lieber. And I thought that there was so much in it for couples, married couple. And I thought I would share some of these experiences. And also in that book, I recognized that we were actually understanding each other without never having read that book before, that our love language were being filled. Because it talk about some love languages receiving gifts, others are affirmations, other is like touch.
Oh yeah, I remember that book. And they were expressing that the way someone tends to extend gifts is a kind of signal as how they would like to receive gifts.
That's right.
And Kimberly, my wife, has been buying gifts for me for the last 15 years or more.
And you don't buy any for her.
I haven't taken the signal as yet.
Well, you're your father's child. Because I often say to Lance, if it is receiving gifts was one of the things that was important to me in marriage, we might have been divorced.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I remembered, like, the first year we got married, Lance went and he bought this beautiful dress for me. But it was not my style of dress, so I never wore the dress. And because of that, he thought, well, that was a failure. So instead of giving me gifts, he would give me the money. And so you buy what you like. Well, in any case, sometimes even after, he wouldn't even give me the money. He'd say, well, you could write a check or pay your credit card for anything.
Tell me a little bit about burnout.
To tell you the truth, I don't suffer burnout really.
Because mommy has confided in me with regards to, since Lance started making videos, he's no longer doing work around the house. The lawn is overgrown. And actually, mommy and my wife, they start a club where they're talking about, they have two husbands who are content creators and they just can't deal with it anymore.
No,
I expect to see Lasana in the club soon.
I don't really suffer burnout. I guess I have the advantage of being in the newspaper business, and you always spot a good story. So there are always stories lying around. People don't have to really put the camera around the neck and they go looking for something to photograph. There's always a story. There's always a story in view, right? But since marriage and love and family relationship is important, there's always a story. And even if you wake up grumpy one morning and you're not friendly, that in itself is a story, because you want now to save your marriage. So you have to analyze, I have been, obnoxious this morning, and therefore I need to really record that how this is going to damage my marriage. And that in itself becomes a story. And actually, I don't mind the little gadget that we use, because somebody said early o'clock, that's your signature. And in other words, I have now the approval that no matter what happens, people will say, okay, they're just two retirees trying a thing. And they're just two retirees trying something. And therefore they're excused. They're excused. So that covers me in a measure. I remember when Mr. Bat died, for instance.
Yes.
And I wanted to, and you were all in tears. I really needed to reach out to you, but how was I going to do it? And looking at you with all the grief expressed there, and I remember putting this little cell phone on my chest and trying to get it so I can capture it. Right?
Yeah, that's to explain what Dad is talking about here. He did a YouTuber that I used to work with, Mr. Bat. He passed away, unfortunately, in a vehicle accident, and I made a video, and then Dad and Mom, they made a reaction video. But because Daddy not really familiar with technology and screen recordings and that type of thing, just taping with his iPad, he did something which was really clever, and it people have messaged me about that. People who more tech savvy, and they'd be like, "This is the most brilliant reaction video that I have ever seen," because you're recording yourself and you are playing the video on your cell phone. So you're holding up the iPad in selfie mode, recording a video of me playing on your cell phone, which was fantastic work. Fantastic work.
You know what was hilarious, Lyndon? You see, he's holding it. It's facing the iPad, right? So now when he's ready now to stop it, he's not sure where he.
Yeah. It was so different. It was amusing that I was able to find some laughter in a very sad moment, and it was a touching video that it did.
I don't try to apologize for the errors that might come across, because I believe that people out there expect that we will make errors.
Yes.
So I am free. I'm free from that burden of trying to explain to you, well, what I said there wasn't right, and how I angled the camera wasn't right, and whatever happened. I don't have that burden.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That is admirable that we have seniors. They're making videos here. They're using their iPad. They have a lavalier mic, and your audience have certain expectations from you. How does that influence like your upgrade part, your interest in terms of like buying new technology, better quality? I mean, you basically answered the question there, but is there any particular type of gear that you would like to get for your YouTube channel, or what's your story there?
Well, I really am interested in getting a proper iPhone, and you have graciously supplied me with what do you call this? What do you call it?
It's called a gimbal or a stabilizer.
A stabilizer.
Have you opened it as yet?
I have not opened it.
I know when you receive gifts, it's like about 3-4 years.
Yes, I do have that.
You mean to say he received it?
He received it as yet.
Even know
you
that.
don't even know. You understand?
Oh, sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. It's a bad habit I have. When people give me gifts, I put them in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Until
A
next
year
year.
later, I can't remember who
But
gave it to me.
Lyndon has that style to it.
Chip
When
off
he
the
get
oblong.
birthday gifts, Lyndon opened the birthday gift the next year. And then he will be, but who gave this to me?
Same with me.
Yeah.
But-
Chip off the old bloke.
But to answer your question, Lyndon, yes, you have granted me this wonderful gift. If I have to, Mommy's iPhone is it's good enough to do it, and I have to practice because, well, I mean, I don't want to really put this gimbal in a cupboard for a year, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because you don't know how long you have on YouTube
how long
again.
he uses it?
But that's about the only upgrade I could think of at the moment.
Yeah.
But my concern right now is finding new stories as they crop up.
And where you're finding new stories? Just from life?
From life. And I like to be positive. I have created a column called Happy Trinies, so to speak. And I'm trying to project that we do have people who enjoy their work, like you, for instance. I consider you a happy Trini. I'm grateful also to those people who comment and like this our friend in Florida. He gave song advice, right? You know what I'm speaking of.
Yeah, man. Feel free to big him up, man.
Trini 0234.
Trinio 324.
What she do for?
And I'm pretty sure he'll be one of the first people listening to this podcast episode.
He's very
Yes, very encouraging.
very encouraging,
And,
lots of others who live in the States and otherwise I'm not able to big up as you people order shout out. I don't have that kind of gift, but I really appreciate, and we really appreciate all those who support us.
That's a generation gap.
Yeah, and was the hardest part of YouTube for you, mommy, apart from working with daddy? Because how many subscribers you all at right now? You're over 2,000 subscribers.
I think
Your
it's
channel
around
monetized.
2,050.
2,510, I think.
Fantastic work, man. So yeah, what you would say is one of the challenges in terms of like working with Daddy or YouTube on the whole?
Right. Before I answer that question, I just want to put in a point here that our subscribers really started climbing after Lance did that video. The response to Mr. Bat, the video,
The reaction.
the reaction video. After that, we noticed that our subscribers just started jumping. And in no time, we were able to have the 1,000 subscribers.
On the
And now
4,000 watch hours.
Yes.
They were sorry for us.
2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was when we noted that it really started climbing, you know?
Because for instance, there was a time when you post videos around a time of a significant event, and Mr. Bat's passing was a significant event in the YouTube community.
Mm-hmm.
I think back to even when there were like floodings, Lasana and I went up by Mr. Harry, and we had a video called Flooding in Cora. And people, because of the timing of the event and the video being posted on the heels of it, it did particularly well.
Right.
So if you're a content creator out there listening to this, you could be paying very close attention to particular events, creating content around it and using it to...
Yes, it really, because we were surprised. It's like, what's going on? You know? But I suppose them, as you said, this is the poor old man. Look at what he's doing to be able to react. We need to support
I
him.
wasn't even aware of something called reaction.
yeah, to be aware of reaction videos. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the challenges for me is really dealing with Lance.
The thing about it is Louise is such an excitable person, yeah? For instance, you've just passed that nice little pad there. So that she should rest.
To get her to stop pounding the
But I
table
tell you the thing.
and the recording. So what I'll do is I'll adjust it so she has a pad for each
Now,
hand.
this is one of the things. She gets really excited and her hand goes all over the place. And I have to tell her, watch the mic, watch the mic.
Yeah, because
don't move that, yeah?
No, Daddy wanted to produce like a news anchor. You know, like sometimes when Daddy look at Red Wall News, which I used to do, he'd be like, I think you move your hands a little bit too much. You know, you're distracting from the content and
Yes.
the subject matter that you're talking about. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about is true.
So now I will be talking and he'll be sort of like, I'm supposed to read his lips to understand. He's saying, don't tap the table, don't tap the table.
Yeah, please don't tap the table.
Yeah, she dropped a bowl yesterday on the little mic, you know. She put on a bowl on the mic yesterday. And I had to say, don't do that. Don't do that.
So half of the time I get a little exasperated that, you know, what is he trying to say now?
And you can't make any errors while you're recording because, you know, that's ruined the last 20 minutes because Daddy don't know how to open it in a video.
But that is it. So yesterday was my most frustrated part when after talking for 20
And
minutes.
the video starts off, and I didn't do anything to it. The video starts off with a grumpy face, you know. You should have.
No, that was the second time around.
The second time around, she was a little grumpy, you know.
Yeah. But I was soon able to regain laughing Louise.
You have always been very good at regaining your composure around this irritated man. Yeah. No, boy. Fantastic work.
I get a little anxious sometimes when he's setting up the place. He likes everything to be in order. You know, well, now I'm seeing your studio versus ours, our makeshift. And I could realize why he would be so particular to have everything, you know, well, to the best of his ability with his limited gadgets. But I really enjoy doing and working with Lance on the videos. We really don't have any rehearsals to say, I want you to say this and I want you to say that. I'm not working in his shadow at all. You know, but he would wake up in the morning, I don't know, maybe he's up all very early in the morning, coming up with ideas, what he wants to do. And he'll say, I think I like it, one video today. What's the topic? Well, and he would say, well, maybe we could do something on marriage. And that is my specialty. because apart from reading a few books over the years about marriage, and I always love to talk to young people in my workplace. And I remember one girl said to me once, she said, you you are as good as any psychologist. Because she had been seeing someone and she would say to me, everything you told me when I went to the psychologist, they said the same thing. So it's this now, I do over the years would read psychology books and so. But I think that when you have a passion about things, it ceases to be difficult to do because it is your strength. And I think that I have a natural way of being able to speak to people. And I love to help people, especially in marriage, because so many young people out there cannot understand what's the joy in getting married. One guy whom I worked with, he said to me, Lou, you have been married for over 40 years, because that's like 10 years ago. He said, but tell me, as a young person, I'm divorced already. He was just 30. He said, I am divorced already. He said, and what is the joy of marriage? And I said, there's a lot of joy in marriage, but we have to be willing for the sacrifice. I said, and to me, the greatest part to look forward to is after your children have grown up and they have gone to make their own nests, then you have each other as companions. Your life would have been in the back burner for a while as a young couple, because immediately upon having a child, romance for a lot of people goes through the window. But I always like to think that Daddy was a man that always gave time for his family, but when it came to Lou, he need some private time. When the children go to bed, okay, put them in their bed. And, my wife is mine now. And so marriage has always been a wonderful experience for us. Of course, we have had misunderstandings. You have to disagree to agree. And a lot of what we talk about is true experience and how you dealt with things. So therefore, it's not like you is stressful. It's just drawing, just tapping in on your own experience.
Yeah, and the importance of communication. And I'm really glad to hear you talk about this idea of passion and what makes it easy to do something over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, to wake up and see that face over and over. And for him to wake up and create content over and over is around a subject that you're passionate. And I think that's something that the content creator could definitely draw from this along the lines of being passionate about something.
Whatever your topic is. And once your topic is of interest, and I think that marriage, a lot of young couples want help in their marriage. And really, there's not much role models because so many parents have been divorced. But their children will still take the plunge of marriage. But then they have nothing to draw from. But when there's a good marriage and we can pass on and be a help, I think it's wonderful.
You know, it would be brilliant. I listen to you talking and I'm wondering if there's some sort of course that you could do, a short course that gives you a certification in this and an ability to then tell your audience, apart from like monetization, that this is a service that I now offer, because you're building up a reputation. As I say, I would meet people and they're talking about, your dad and your mom and marriage advice and looking forward to it, because if you're but like from your point of view, that being the guy who doing the video editing aspect, trimming the beginning and the end of the clip and the recording, are you pursuing with the YouTube channel that you will so generously share your knowledge on? Are you pursuing a topic area that you are deeply passionate about, or have you kind of adjusted to what is getting good results from the audience?
Well, I might be sounding unambitious at this point, but if I have a topic, I will try to create a scenario for it. For instance, I have found myself thinking now about trucking. And from journalism, I stepped into transport. So now I am thinking of how can I bring to my viewers the life of a trucker. I mean, we pass a lot of people going to the groceries and we see trucks trying to squeeze in. But I wonder how many, people out there understand the life of a trucker. So now I'm exploring means of getting what it's like to be a trucker, having done that to the public. Areas that I failed in that could make the public have a little more. You see, the whole point about my work is that I would like to create for Trinidad the medium of appreciation. And I could appreciate your work, and even a bus driver, the garbage man. These are essential services that people do for our country. But just to get them out there.
So when you stray, for instance, from what your audience is looking for in terms of marriage advice, are those the videos that tend to perform a little bit better on your pages?
Marriage, anything to do with love and marriage and a relationship working, always will score high.
Mm-hmm. Family life.
Family life will score high. Mm-hmm. Marriage and love, I think, and the most responses will come from females because they are very interested in perhaps making things work.
Yeah,
they are hardworking people on the job who have careers, and they are hardworking at home. And while we're trying to come up with creation content, they're busy in the kitchen. They're busy in the bedroom trying to put sheets together and all of that stuff. But women go for things that are delicate, like marriage. They want their marriages to work.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get things to really work, right? This question of integrity came up recently in my mind. How to deal honestly as an honest Trinidadian or Tobagonian, to deal honestly. That's important to me. And there's lots of room for it, huh? I mean, starting with little kids being around, teaching them how to be, gracious. Just one thing I want to add again. We did a video yesterday. Am I too long?
No.
We did a video yesterday.
If you could just come a little closer to the mic, that would be great.
Sorry. We did a video yesterday, and I was not apologizing, but I was commenting on the fact that you have your strength wherever it lies, okay? So always lie in creating content for marriage, right? But I questioned, as I did once, we are not marriage counselors by any means, but we are not food we don't do productions really on food. And I wondered how. This is a question I posed to Louise in the video. Is our YouTube channel saturated, so to speak, with food content? And I decided to do a little exploration, and I have found out that food is a very important part of any culture. And one, sitting at the table, having a meal together is a wonderful platform for family life. So when I have to apologize now if I had thought, people are making a lot of food videos, but everybody, as I believe people would think, you have your strengths. And if while you're making your food videos, you are displaying that family life and that element of relationship comes into it, and children are very much integrated in the action of it, or even going out into the country And so I had to, at the end of it, I had to sort of apologize for my way of thinking. And
You mean apologize in the video itself?
in the video itself, yes. I think I hinted at the apology that I had this thought that, gosh, man, all this food, we projecting all this food, are we going to be look like a gluttonous nation? But I realized that was wrong, really. People have their strengths, as I said, and I have to appreciate where their strength lies. And therefore, but every time you use your strength, it should be to teach something. That's the important thing, wherever your strength lies, you are teaching something to your viewer, to your nation. And that helps us to put a lot of integrity back into society. So I also want to say, I appreciate all these fancy lights that we have around us. I really do. I don't have that kind of setup home. I don't envy it at all. But I want to refer to something that has crossed my mind many years ago. When they made the world's second best movie ever made. You know what's the second best movie ever made in the world?
Citizen Kane?
That was number
Casablanca.
one. Casablanca. And you would think that you were somewhere in the Middle East, but it was in a studio. Everything was set up in a studio. Rick's Cafe, everything was set up in a studio. And I realized that one of the joys I have is setting up my little studio at home, whether it's to have a backdrop of a different color, or I change the position of the chairs, and that it gives me great fun to think that I could create a scenario and take you somewhere, somewhere in a different realm. I really enjoyed that challenge,
We do it with great pleasure.
With great pleasure.
While
at your penis.
I sometimes after cooking, I hungry.
Yeah, because life goes on. While we content creators doing we thing, you in the background with turning pot.
Or waiting to eat.
In closing, I'd like to find out from you all, what advice would you all give to seniors who probably have ignored technology for a long time, and what advice you have for them? And whether they're thinking about, they've toyed with the idea of joining Facebook or WhatsApp or Facebook or YouTube. What advice you'd give to a senior?
Well, I will tell a senior that just get your camera, start exploring. It's like journalism. They put you on a desk and they gave you a typewriter in the old days, and they say, okay, we want you to go out there and to talk to some people in the street and get an answer to a certain current situation. And you come back and you write, and that what you've written goes to the editor, and he looks at it and he says, okay, you could improve here, there, and everywhere. And you go back and you sit down and you try again. And he might tell you, and Louise, you were in accounts. You had to draw up different findings. Your boss might change the wording, but the essential thing is that what you have gleaned from your accounts remains yours.
Auditing.
I mean, if I may, I think Farmer Harry is onto something good. You take this, I don't want to be sounding impertinent, but you take this bushman, and now he is creating his little videos, right? He's learning.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we mustn't be afraid of is failure. I like to think, that there was a episode where a man for many years in a foreign country was doing a sport. And for 5 years, he was the perfect example of how not to do it. Until in the 6th year, he became the champion. So you got to keep going at it. And we can't tell people out there who want to comment, be soft and be gentle and encourage. People have their own style of commenting, but we are not to be discouraged. Discouragement is something that we have to face up to.
Yeah.
So launch out.
Yeah. I will say too, you're never too old to learn. And you would find that the more that you put into it, is the more you would learn, is the more you'd be willing to explore. Now, I know for elderlies, we were brought up in the era when we were told, do not interfere with things you don't know about. The father of the house has to put on the radio. The mother had to put on the TV. And youngsters were not allowed to do things. So that forbid, they forbid our curiosity. And anybody over 70 years old has that fear, especially about computers. Because in our workplace, when, computers were introduced, people went on for years not going on the computer, and although they were taught, they would not exploit because they're fearful that they would lose all their information. Your screen go black and it's like, oh my gosh, I lost everything. And they became very cowed of the computer. So for elderlies, computer and technology is like far beyond them. But we are living in a world, it's a changing world. And if we don't keep up with technology, we'll be left behind. Because even to travel, you go now and in the airport, you have to check in yourself, you have to take your own picture. And sometimes you do crazy things, but there are people there willing to help you. So by the time you go back the next time, you more or less know what to do. So if you just keep laid back and afraid, you would never take the plunge. But take the plunge and you will enjoy it.
Thank you very much for those words of encouragement. So, Mommy, Daddy, Lance and Louise from Trinidad, I thoroughly enjoyed this talk with you all. Thank you so much for freely sharing your knowledge. And for the listener who would like to check out my mom and dad's channel, you could check the show notes. Thanks very much.
Thank you too.
See you in the next episode.